What is PPCM? Peripartum cardiomyopathy, also known as PPCM, is an often unrecognized form of heart failure that occurs during pregnancy or up to 12 months postpartum. The condition weakens the heart muscle and causes the heart to become enlarged. As a result, the heart can't pump blood properly to the rest of the body. Welcome to I Am Tenacious, Lifestyle and Wellness. In today's episode, we speak with Let's Talk PPCM founder Brianna Henderson and patient advocate lead Bobby Leverett as they discuss raising awareness about PPCM. I'm happy to see the both of you here. I'm excited to learn more about your cause and what you're here for. So I would like to start with Brianna, letting us know who you are and what exactly is PPCM.
Yes. So, how I even got involved in awareness is it starts back with my sister, my oldest sister, Crystal. She was actually expecting her second child, and she had like very healthy, a rarely healthy pregnancy overall. I believe she was a lot more healthier than I was, but as far as the nutritional side, it wasn't that part that was affecting her. She did have like morning sickness prolonged throughout her whole pregnancy. And from there, it wasn't nothing that was out of suspectation or anything like that. It was just, considered as regular pregnancy, relations. But it wasn't until when after she had my nephew is it was about 3 months later she had already returned back to work. Once she was rushed back to work, she ended up suspectantly having shortness of breath. And so her shortness of breath was so alarming that she went to the urgent care. She left work and went to urgent care. She was actually in one of the Martin Luther King parades at the time in 2014. And so she was there, and she was also a coach for her majorette team.
Mm.
And so that's when she noticed she was getting short of breath. She went to Care Now, and the Care Now was like, "Oh no, you need to go to the hospital." They sent her to the hospital, and the hospital was like, "Oh no, you're in heart failure. Like your heart is failing."
Oh, wow.
and you need a new heart like really like right now. And so like it was so quick, and so like we only had about 3 months after that with her. So as far as like trying to figure out what's going on, what's wrong, what happened, what went wrong, we had no answers. And then so by the time I remember seeing her death certificate, they had it ruled as a natural cause death for this 27-year-old young mom who had just given, just had a baby. And I was like, that's not that we don't even know what happened. Like, so how is that natural cause for a 27-year-old? That was crazy. And so I didn't think anything of it from there. I prayed on it. I remember asking God, I don't know what happened to her. We had already lost our mom back in 2006 from breast cancer. So we, went through that loss together. And so here I am without her trying to figure out, trying to put pieces together. And so this is why I just thank God so much for these graceful connections. Because he ended up once I ended up getting married, and I had my second child, and I, just so happened to start following through these certain symptoms that my sister was having. And so at this point, I'm already aware, right? Like, okay, my sister went through something, and now this is, it's alarming. So let me go ahead and ask about it. I asked not my cardiologist, my obstetrician. I asked my obstetrician if she could check my heart, even though I knew that wasn't her routine. So she listened to me. She was like, okay, and she was like, oh, you do have a heart murmur. Well, there's something there. So she knew I wasn't going crazy. But yeah, so she was like, yeah, it is something there, and we'll just, you know, uh, we won't worry about it. She said we won't worry about it because it'll normally go away after the baby is born. So when I had her, I went through a postpartum hemorrhage. That wasn't anything alarming out of the ordinary as far as with the doctors. It was out of the ordinary, right? But with
Yeah.
me, I was just like more concerned about my heart, if more than anything. So even after the hemorrhage, I remember I requested if they could check my heart. So they used this screening called the echocardiogram,
Mhm.
and they brought it on the L&D floor. That's something they don't do, but my doctor, she listened to me. So that she just wanted to make sure I had a peaceful, clear mind, and she gave me that. I left that hospital, and it wasn't about probably a week or two later, I developed a cough, and I started developing a shortness of breath. So it's like things started slowly easing up too. Me being back into the hospital 2 months postpartum, I'm in heart failure. and they don't know why. And so, I fortunately I had a cardiologist who was able to put the pieces together. And he was like, strongly feel this is exactly what happened to your sister. This is what's happening to you. It's called PPCM, postpartum cardiomyopathy, or peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is a form of heart failure that attacks the heart during or after pregnancy. So, no, most commonly is found with up to 6 months postpartum. But now we've been seeing that more survivors that's coming out and sharing their stories, they're being diagnosed within a year postpartum. And so
Wow.
it's just like, it's kind of a difference of how long your heart is hanging on there. And so that's one thing. And what our how we got connected with Miss Bobby here is she ended up, going through PPCM, and she'll be able to tell her story. But it's from that point on, I remember us trying to figure out, well, how can we help get this information out? Like it's happening more, and they called it rare. And it wasn't
Right.
rare in our eyes, like it's happening now. And so, what can we do? And so, I remember, like, in our group of Heart Sisters, we call ourselves Heart Sisters, and I was just asking him, I was like, I wonder if we can get our stories out the group and like share it with nationwide, like get it out in the media. And so, a lot of them was like, yeah, we need to do that. And so we started all sharing our stories and just being able to highlight it. And so it came up with Let's Talk PBCM and started off as a blog, which what we see now. And, it then grew over some time. But from then in the very beginning, it was just trying to get the awareness out. And so we had some other heart sisters that we actually started with who kind of coached us into the nonprofit world. And so we was able to kind of educate ourselves a little bit more in detail on, oh, we can use this and be able to help kind of, make a change. So this we could use this to change something. And so that is pretty much how we end up getting the nonprofit founded with Let's Talk PBCM. And that was back in 2019, right before COVID took off. And who knows that, who would have known that COVID came right after, and all of a sudden it's attacking women's hearts. And so now they're trying to figure out what is going on. So that is where we step in. And we thank you so much for having us.
What I heard you say on more than one occasion is my doctor listened to me. Because a lot of times, sometimes you run into doctors that don't listen. And if I'm being honest, a
Mhm.
lot of times it is with African American women. Even by the time I had my fourth child, I was with a midwife. I did not go
Oh,
through
that's
obstetrics
awesome.
because of the experience I had when I had my second child. I was pregnant with twins and lost one along the way because
Oh.
people weren't listening at the hospital that I was at. And so
Mm.
I do appreciate the fact that it's important that as women, we are very vocal about how we feel, our symptoms, and if we are not being listened to, find someone who will. That's definitely
Mhm.
something to put out there. So I want to talk to Bobby and find out, what has been your experience with PPCM. How did you end up here?
Hey, well, I had Journey in 2018 of June, but in 2017, when I was still pregnant, about 6 months in, I started experiencing shortness of breath. I couldn't breathe when I would lay down. My legs were swelling. I was getting palpitations, but I didn't know they were palpitations at the time.
Mm.
I would go to my doctor's appointments, and during the ultrasounds, when you're trying to lay back, I could not breathe. I was gasping for air. I was sitting back up, and I was telling them, hey, I cannot breathe. And the ultrasound tech and the doctor was like, oh, that's normal. That's just a regular pregnancy symptom. And I was expressing myself, hey, this isn't just happening now. I can't breathe at home. I can't breathe anytime I lay down. I could barely walk from maybe 2 or 3 feet away without literally, I have to sit down. My heart's racing out my chest, and they completely ignored me. At the time, I took their word for it because I'm like, well, I had Aaliyah at my first child, and I remember shortness of breath and stuff then, but this was extreme.
Yeah.
And I tried to every appointment, I was telling them, hey, I really cannot breathe. I am struggling. I don't know what else to do. And they just ignored me. Well, around 34 weeks, I was at an appointment and they were trying to, they were doing an ultrasound of some type and trying to see if Journey would try to make breathing, like practice breathing. And she wasn't doing her breathing practices from the inside. And so they advised me that I would have to go ahead and deliver because that's pretty dangerous. And so after I delivered via C-section, I thought everything was going to go back to normal. But my swelling got even worse. It got extreme. Like my whole leg was the same size from my thigh all the way down to my ankles. It was extremely painful. And I was complaining about it to the hospital staff and everyone. Oh, that's normal. It'll go away in a couple of days. I was asking for diuretics, something to take the water off.
Yeah.
And they totally ignored me. They said, it's natural. Your body's going to release the water. And Journey at the time was in NICU. And so they released me before they released her. And I was practically begging to stay because I knew something wasn't right. But they told me, with the C-section, we really don't need you more than 3 days or so. So you can go home. So I went home without Journey. And maybe a week and a half or so, I started experiencing extreme swelling still, frequent urination where I could have just went to the bathroom and I would be running right back to the bathroom. Extreme sweating, a lot of palpitations. It was horrible. And so my husband took me to the hospital and I was extreme shortness of breath. They was asking me to spell my name and I couldn't get through my name. And so they put the I forgot what you call it, but to check your oxygen levels in your blood. And it was at like maybe 80 and it's supposed to be at like 100. And so they hurried up and got me back to the triage. And that's when I was officially diagnosed. And they drained like maybe 40 pounds of fluid off of from around my heart. They did some type of x-ray and that's how they seen the fluid. That's how they was able to diagnose me, because thank God the doctor that was in triage that day was familiar with PPCM. Exactly. And so he diagnosed me, and I remember asking him, what's PPCM? Because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
And so that's when I was explained, and he told me, hey, tomorrow you're going to get fitted for a life vest. And so I'm like, what's a life vest? And so I'm trying to figure out everything that's going on at the same time of being told this information with a 2-week-old kid, a 10-year-old daughter, and I had too much going on. Right. And so get fitted for the life vest that next day and not sure how to feel about it. I just got this new diagnosis. My heart's not normal. It's only functioning at a 25% function, which is not good. It should be between 50 and 75. So to be at 25 and you don't know where the heart, where the failure came in at. Right. And so they taught me how to wear the life vest. They sent me home. And so maybe a week or so later, I ended up going into sudden cardiac arrest at home with Journey, the baby. And Aaliyah was there, but it was late at night. My husband was at work. And so what the vest did was it sent a normal rhythm back to my heart. So it revived me. And so when I was revived, I was able to hear the vest. It has speakers and stuff on the box. And so it'll tell you, hey, call 911. You just experienced a medical emergency. And so because you don't remember anything, you just pass out.
Exactly.
And so I didn't call 911. I did wait for my husband to actually naturally come home. And he took me back to the hospital that I delivered. And so they were not used to the machine working on anybody. And so, yeah, when I walked in the emergency room and had all this blue dye all over my shirt and all over my skin, and they're looking at me like, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. I woke up, there's dye everywhere, and they were in a state of shock.
Okay. Why are you in a state of shock? Oh no.
State of shock. No. They were in a state. I was the first patient to come back to the hospital where this device has worked.
You're the pioneer. Okay.
and so they called the company, and because they're supposed to get a report anytime this machine goes off. The hospital that I guess delivered it to me, that gave it to me, is supposed to get a report of this happening so that they can know that somebody's about to come in with heart, something's going on with their heart. Well, they didn't get that report, of course.
I'm stuck. Hold on. I'm listening, but I'm stuck. I'm buffering internet right now because I'm like, how did you give her the device? But yet y'all don't even know. So what we need is for the hospitals to also like let the staff and everybody know what's going on so they know what to expect. Not just the
Absolutely.
women. Wow.
Absolutely. They were stunned. And I'm like, well, if y'all stunned, I'm definitely stunned because what? and so and so they take me back, and because of the shock that comes to you, you have this like burst of energy. So I didn't realize the seriousness of what was going on. So I'm thinking, oh, just patch me up and I'll be able to go back out. No, they had to actually give me a pacemaker. I ended up in ICU, and I think a couple of days later, I ended up getting my pacemaker surgery. And while I was in ICU, this is how I officially met Brianna, because I ended up, one of my friends was familiar with PPCM once I made like public post about it. And she told me about a Heart Sister group. And so that's how I ended up on the Heart Sisters, like just a random group, but we're all a part of it. And so that's how we ended up getting close. And I was completely confused about the entire process. I didn't know anything about, pregnancy related heart failure, didn't know what I was going through, was in ICU, didn't fit the mold because everybody else in ICU is under sedation. I was up and smiling and singing and
Wow.
doing stuff, but was extremely sick. And so that's pretty much the story.
So, does it affect any specific like ethnic group, or could this happen to anyone?
It could definitely happen to anybody. Now, what they're going to try to tell you is that it is predominantly African Americans, but as I found out over the last 7 years, it literally can be anybody from any nation, from any country, from any background. It doesn't have a face.
Okay.
And I really feel like African Americans are mostly affected is because we're not heard. If they would listen to us when we're trying to explain that we're going through some type of an emergency, and they would run the testing and they would take it seriously, then it wouldn't be so bad. We would catch it before.
Yeah. Brianna, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I agree. It just with us actually getting involved in advocacy work, we've been able to kind of just get directly input into like these stories of these women that's constantly having they need somewhere to go. They need support. They don't know what to do next. And so it hasn't been just, for African Americans, it's been like for all. And we've been noticing that it is a higher trend now. What we do know is that in Nigeria and Haiti, it affects about 1 in 300 mothers. And so that's like back to back, so
Yes.
they're literally going through PPCM in Nigeria. So it makes it look like it's higher levels in African American, but they're not American, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so yeah. So for the US, it's just it's all, and so
Mhm.
not just particular, just that one group. But that is pretty much where it generates as far as our data. A lot of it comes from the African race, central or nationwide.
What about age group? Does it seem like it doesn't have a face? It does not discriminate, but what about
Right,
age group?
right. So I think when we first started learning about PPCM, we noticed that it was affecting moms like 30 years plus. Okay, so as we continue to start doing awareness, noticing like accepting these mom story and reading more of their other stories, we have moms that are literally in their teens developing this heart condition with their first
Wow.
child. You're 18 and you need a new heart. And yeah, we had to advocate for one of our moms who was that young, freshly out of high school, just had her baby, and all of a sudden such, she needs this new heart. She, fortunately, she was able to get her new heart, and she has, she's doing very well today. But look how devastating that is, and it's one of those conditions where you can't really put we don't like to really put a stigma to it. I don't,
Right.
to say that it affects certain women or certain risk, but there is risk factors as far as being 30 years plus. And since we do see a trend now in women that are over the age 30 that are wanting to become mothers now or going through IVF treatments, we've
Mhm.
noticed that there is a high risk of developing PPCM if you do have fertility, if you go through fertility treatments,
Okay.
and if you also develop preeclampsia. There's a link there that you need to be at least aware of what your heart is doing if you're going to be pursuing those manners.
So I know that the both of you, when you both were describing your own personal symptoms, some of them were not the same. So, like, what are some symptoms that are a little bit like what can people look out for?
I know for me personally, a cough it's like a nagging cough and you can't stop.
Okay.
Um, when you lay down, shortness of breath, extreme once you lay down. Swelling. I had a lot of swelling, like anywhere, my hands, feet, ankles, legs. I was swollen everywhere. Um, Headaches. I got headaches.
Mhm.
Um, that was pretty much it for me.
And I know
Yeah,
Brianna
and I can
said
say like
something
with
about,
my
yeah, you said something about preeclampsia. So I know that has a lot to do with blood pressure.
And I
So,
had
like,
that too. I had preeclampsia.
okay, okay. Because I mean, my mother actually developed eclampsia, and that is how she lost my oldest brother. Like, she carried him all the way to full term. And then after, he actually died in utero right before she gave birth as a result of developing eclampsia before he was able to be born. And that was in
Oh
the
my goodness.
70s. And so it's just something where we also don't know how long this has been going on. We have been dealing with people not listening for a while, and now we've got our voice and we're gonna use it. So I cut off Brianna. I want you to go ahead and answer what you were saying.
No, that's totally fine. We love it. We love any type of awareness we're able to get. And so now I was just saying, like, I know with my sister, like she experienced the shortness of breath, and then just prolonged sickness through her pregnancy. That's just something alarming. It's called HG. So can y'all
Uh,
hear me? Did it cut out again?
it
But it
cut
came
off when
back.
you were explaining the HG from your sister, the rare.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So we'll start there.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying that like we both experienced prolonged morning sickness, and just from that point, I know I experienced the shortness of breath, the leg swelling, and the coughing. I had that. Oh, it was a horrible cough. The cough is so you can't even explain the cough. And then the shortness of breath is not just the shortness of breath. Like if people be like, oh yeah, I got asthma, I understand what that is. No, it's a type of shortness of breath on if you feel like you've been underwater for like somebody literally just trying to hold you underwater for as long as they can. That's how exactly how I feel. And all you did was just lay down on your pillow. And that's how you felt like, so you gotta literally get up, so it's like a severe type of the symptoms that we experience, so it's more of a severe, like if you more tired, I'm more tired than usual, but it's not a mom tired. It's
Mm,
your body is like, oh my God, I'm shutting down tired, and you could feel it, but you don't know what you're
yeah,
feeling. A lot of us didn't even feel like we were dying. We didn't feel like that.
yeah, yeah. So I want you to tell us about the Hope and Healing Fund and how we can help.
Absolutely. And so what we have put together just over the time, we have been noticing a trend as far as the heart disease when we get diagnosed, since we don't have a pretty much of a big support, because as you know, it was known as rare. So with being diagnosed with a rare condition, a lot of people aren't aware of why they should pay attention to it, why they should learn about it, what's the point in giving to it, and so we're trying to educate the community more, bringing out their stories, bringing out, just more information on what we're doing to help, and it'll be able to help them as far as like their living expenses, day-to-day expenses, just to get them whatever support we can. Right now, we're just trying to raise about 2,500 to start it up, and just for them to be able to apply for their needs of financial assistance. And then it's for, PPCM moms is, as far as who able to be assisted, through this project. So people will be able to join in and be able to directly support and help these moms who are affected by this serious heart condition with a new baby.
Yeah. So what is the website? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at letstalkppcm.org. And then you can also visit it, just kind of visit through the website, through the tabs. You may see more information in regards to the treatments. You may see information on the screenings. You'll see information on the other survivors, and our support group, just having the connection, and also our upcoming projects and speaking engagements as well.
And also, can you tell me what the social media is so people can find you that way as well?
Yes, and they can find us on Facebook. I believe we're at, or they could just type it at Let's Talk PPCM, and also on Instagram. We are on X, but we haven't really been active on X. So just YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram is really where you can reach us. Yeah, we're
Okay.
sharing stories and sharing information all the time. Taking on that role as far as like with the grief support and the mental
Mhm.
part of it, because we're pretty much on our own as far as creating our own resources. And so we've been able to pretty much merge with the community. We've now partnered with Baylor Hospital, which me and Bobby are also been patients there and treated by Baylor. And so it was very warming, heartwarming, and a blessing for them to be able to want to hear us out and connect with us to see how they can help best get this information out. And so we're working on that with them, on being able to bring those workshops into the medical fields. They are also accepting our new magazines, and so we have a new
Okay.
magazines that we're releasing as well that'll be featuring our heart sisters.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you.
And Bobby, what is a quote that means something to you?
This one is from Michelle Obama. Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. I feel like a lot of people, um, they don't donate or participate because they don't feel like what they give is enough, or they don't feel like it'll make an impact. But in actuality, every dollar makes a difference.
Yes.
Every cent makes a difference. And so no one should feel that way. Anytime you can give anything, that's going to make a difference in someone else's life. And that's where the focus should be.
Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate the both of you being here, telling your stories and being vulnerable and transparent and putting the information out there. And I'm sorry to hear about your sister. And I'm so glad to see the both of you here and healthy and being able to put this out here. God put you here for this purpose. And
Amen.
God bless the both of you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We
Thank
appreciate you
you.
as well. And may God continue to bless you as well.
Thank
Oh my
you.
goodness. And I love the war room, by the way. I just want to
Oh,
throw that
thank
out
you.
there. I be seeing you,
I
girl. I
try.
done
I
watched it
try.
probably like 100 times. Thank
Yes,
you so much,
thank
Miss
you so much.
Tanae. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, nice to meet you too. We'll definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Ma'am.
All right, Bobby.
All
See
right.
y'all later.
Go to letstalkppcm.org to learn more about PPCM and what you can do to donate and to help.